Hey everybody, it's Mike. Had a really interesting end to last week, specifically Thursday. Wednesday, I was in New York City doing some trainings and had the opportunity Wednesday night to have dinner with my older daughter Mia, who lives there, her boyfriend Jake, who lives there, and Jake's dad Mark. And we went out for pizza, and it was about 8:30 on Wednesday night. Mia and I looked at our watches and we're like, oh my goodness, we got to get back to my hotel because the Phillies game starts at 9:08. We sprinted back to the hotel, stopped for some frozen yogurt on the way back, sat and watched the game with such joy. Phillies won 8-2. Game ends just after midnight Thursday morning. This was the beginning of my Thursday. It was going to be a fantastic day. Did a full day of trainings in New York on Thursday, took the train back to Philly, went to softball practice for my 18U team, and we had a great practice. And during and throughout practice, we had the Phillies game on the speaker in the facility where we work out. And the girls, while they were working hard, they were wrapped and they were locked in on every pitch. Practice ended at about 9 o'clock. I get home and watched the end of the Phillies game, which was the end of the Phillies season because they lost. And at around the same time, the Philadelphia Flyers lost. And about 90 minutes after that, the Eagles lost. And it was a rough day. And I woke up Friday morning sad, angry. Yeah, I'm a little irrational. I am sort of all gross stereotypes associated with Philadelphia sports fandom, and I own every one of them. So I was upset when I got up Friday morning, and I went to a meeting, and I came back, and I talked to my older daughter, Mia, who was even angrier than I was, and was even sadder than I was, and more upset than I was, and I tried to communicate to her that there is a lot of value to be gleaned from losses, from losing. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is what is it we really can capture and take away from those experiences that don't go exactly as we would like them. And we understand that failure is a fundamental part of life. And until and unless we are able to adapt to failure, until and unless we are able to accept failure as part of our existence, we're never really effectively going to be able to deal with it. So I want to talk about three things I think we can all do as leaders, we can all do as humans in dealing with loss. And the first is to really do our best to adopt a growth mindset. As I mentioned, failure really is a meaningful part of life. It is a realistic experience day to day. We talk all the time about the definition of a winner being somebody who gets up one more time than they fall down. And while that is real, it's not always easy to do. And we have to be able to develop and to build this resilience so that we can continue to get up more than we fall. You've heard me mention about my coaching an 18 and under travel softball team. And I just want to share with you briefly what I think is kind of the embodiment of this resilience. I have a young woman who I've coached for about 3 years, and she's tremendous, not just as a player, but as a person. And she received as a junior an offer to play college softball at the university that she wanted to attend. And she was all ready to go. And then the coach was no longer part of the program. And she was told, we have no idea what's going to happen with the offers that have been made. And she was broken and she was upset. And after she took that moment of loss, she got back up and she was resilient. She did the things that we talk about. She advocated for herself. She pushed. She made sure that she got up one more time than she fell down. And ultimately, it was that resilience that led to the university realizing, yes, your offer is still available. And she accepted that offer, and she is now committed to playing softball at that university. We can't let the losses keep us down and hold us down. We adopt this growth mindset. We get up one more time than we fall. We use losses to build resilience and as a foundation for future success. How do we use losses as a foundation for future success? Losses allow us to challenge basic assumptions that we make day to day with regard to the experiences we have or the experiences we expect. Challenge those assumptions. See if there's a different or a better way to do it. When you can't figure it out yourself, allow these losses to give you an opportunity to ask for help. There are people with different and sometimes better experience than we've had in our lives. When you can't figure out how to challenge those assumptions, what to do next, ask for help. Maintain our dignity throughout the process. It's going to be difficult. Building resilience is like any other kind of a muscle. It takes work. So, number one, we want to adopt a growth mindset. In building this resilience as part of that growth mindset, we really need to embrace the notion of relentless incrementalism, which is a concept that you've heard me mention in the past. The whole idea behind relentless incrementalism is that meaningful, sustainable change happens in small steps over time, as opposed to one grand, large gesture. That may facilitate change, but that kind of change almost invariably, almost always, boomerangs back. We're looking for relentless incrementalism in the face of loss. One of my favorite athletes in Philadelphia right now is somebody who plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. His name is Tyrese Maxey. And Tyrese Maxey, over the course of the first 5 years in his career, has become an all-NBA player. And it's not because he expected or demanded massive change all at once. When you ask Tyrese Maxey how he's able to achieve the level of success, he looks failure in the face. He accepts losses, and he tries to get 1% better every day. That's relentless incrementalism. It's the willingness, it's the ability, it's the understanding that perfection is not going to exist. It really is the enemy of progress. So what we have to do in building this resilience is adopt this idea of relentless incrementalism. Small steps forward every day, figuring out what went wrong and taking those small steps moving forward to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And third, and I just alluded to it a little bit, and that is having the wherewithal to learn from our failures, learn from what happened in the past, and embrace the change that needs to happen going forward. Phillies lost the playoff series, and it was heart-wrenching the way it ended. But I have an absolute expectation that the organization is going to look to see what happened during the course of the 2025 season, make changes, make tweaks, and try and build for the future. They're going to adapt based on what didn't work. They are going to embrace the realization and the expectation that change at some level is going to be necessary. What we can't do is stay mired in the way things have always been done, because that's the way things have always been done. Back in my day is a concept that just doesn't work. And that is not to say we ignore the past or ignore the lessons from things that have happened before today. It's crucial that we do that. But we've got to be able to adapt moving forward. One of my favorite movies is a movie called Moneyball. Moneyball is a movie adapted from a book written by a guy by the name of Michael Lewis. And Moneyball really examines the evolution of scouting baseball players. And it talks about, really in a deep way, the use of analytics, of code, of math in evaluating players. And there's this wonderful scene in Moneyball where Billy Beane, who's the former general manager of the Oakland A's, who's portrayed by Brad Pitt in the movie, Billy Beane is having a conversation with the guy who's about to become the former head scout. He's currently the head scout, but he's about to get fired for a different reason. And the scout is so frustrated with Billy Beane because Billy Beane, instead of listening to what the scout refers to as the hundreds of years of baseball experience in the scouting room, instead, Billy Beane is listening to what the scout refers to as the egghead with the economics degree from Yale, who's established, who's developed, who's built this code. And right before he fires the head scout, and again, he fires from a different reason, he looks at Billy Beane, looks at the head scout and says, adapt or die. adapt or die. The 2001 Oakland A's lost in the playoffs, and Billy Beane recognized in order for the 2002 team to be successful, they were going to have to make change. He learned from what happened in the past. He did not get into the back in my day mindset. Rather, he embraced change that he thought needed to happen in the Oakland A's in 2002. Had a phenomenally successful season. Last Thursday was rough. The Phillies as a child were my first, second, and third loves on the planet. I still live and die with this team 162 nights a year. Flyers lost. My Eagles lost. But when you get up the next day, after a loss that can feel excruciating, debilitating at times, I want you to consider these three things. 1, adapt that growth mindset. 2, engage in relentless incrementalism to build resilience. And 3, learn from the mistakes in the past, but embrace that change. Adapt or die. Thanks so much, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful week. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for commenting. Thanks so much for sharing. Hope to see you real soon.